It arrived looking completely harmless. A pair of men wheeled what appeared to be an ordinary photocopier through the front doors of a busy casino hotel, and employees barely gave it a second glance. Within hours, that innocent looking delivery would force the evacuation of an entire resort, leave federal bomb experts staring at one of the most complicated explosive devices they'd ever encountered, and to begin a chain of events that no one involved would ever forget. The strangest part is not that the bomb would be exploding because its creator pressed a button. But join me today as I uncover the remarkable story of the Harvey's resort bombing, the impossible choices faced by investigators, and the hidden surprise waiting inside of a machine that seemed determined to defeat anybody who might dare touch it. On the morning of August 26th of 1980, Harvey's Resort Hotel in Stateline, Nevada, was alive with the ordinary sounds of a busy casino. Guests checked in, and dealers prepared gaming tables, and restaurant workers served breakfast, and I'm sure you can probably imagine the sound that all the slot machines make. Ching, ching. Yeah. The employees typically carried out the routines that they had performed countless times before. Then a white van marked IBM arrived outside. Two men entered carrying what looked like a large office photocopier. Nobody rushed to stop them because it looked like exactly the sort of things that technicians expected to see in a large hotel. They rolled the heavy machine into the building, positioned it on the second floor, and then they left. Their job was done. It was a performance, though. It was a performance built entirely on their own confidence, and confidence often proves far more convincing than complicated disguises ever do. What they left behind was anything but ordinary. Hidden inside of that large steel cabinet was one of the most sophisticated bombs that the FBI had ever encountered. It contained roughly 1,200 pounds of dynamite and an elaborate series of anti-tampering devices that were specifically designed to prevent anyone from safely taking it apart. Soon afterward, the hotel received a ransom demand for $3 million. That was brazen. The message claimed that even the man who built the bomb could not disarm it once it had been activated. Payment, according to the letter, would come with instructions explaining how the device could be safely moved before being remotely detonated. It sounded pretty much completely unbelievable, but investigators quickly realized that the threat was very much real, and this got scary. The man behind the plot was a man by the name of John Burgess Sr. He was a Hungarian immigrant who had built a successful landscaping business after he'd settled in California. His story had already included war, imprisonment in a Soviet labor camp, immigration to America, and many, many, many years of hard work. But unfortunately, it also included a devastating gambling addiction. Burgess reportedly lost about $750,000 gambling in casinos around Lake Tahoe, and eventually convinced himself that Harvey's somehow owed him the money back. My dude, that's not how gambling works. It was a tragic example of how desperation can really slowly rewrite a person's sense of reason until the impossible begins to sound practical. History happens when ordinary decisions quietly become extraordinary consequences. As bomb technicians studied X-rays of the device, they realized that they faced an almost impossible problem. The bomb was simply too heavy to move safely, and there was no reliable way to know whether any attempt to relocate it would immediately trigger an explosion or not. Every option carried an enormous risk. Every hour revealed another layer of engineering. Every closer look uncovered another layer, another reason for caution. The FBI evacuated the entire hotel and casino. They shut off the main gas lines. They carefully examined every visible part of the machine, and eventually specialists believed that they had identified what they thought was the safest solution. They would attempt to separate the detonators from the dynamite using a precisely shaped C4 charge. On paper, it was the best plan that they had. It really was. Unfortunately, as you can tell, it wasn't what they'd hoped. What the X-rays could not reveal was the one detail that really did matter the most. Buried deep inside the lower section of the bomb was a completely separate backup power source that no one even knew existed. The bomb had been designed specifically and deliberately so that defeating one triggering system would not stop another. Without realizing it, these technicians were preparing to challenge a machine that had been built with the expectation that experts would do exactly what they were about to do. The next decision would determine whether Harvey's resort survived or disappeared in a matter of seconds. The decision was made, and there was no turning back. After exhausting every reasonable alternative, the FBI prepared the shaped C4 charge that they had hoped would separate the detonators from the enormous supply of dynamite without setting off the main explosion. This was an extraordinary plan, and it was not reckless. This was very well thought out, and this took a lot of math geniuses. The technicians had spent more than a day studying X-rays and tracing wires and analyzing switches and really carefully considering every single possibility that they could identify, everything that was in front of them. They knew they were dealing with an exceptionally sophisticated device, but they also believed they understood how it worked. If you stick around for the credits, the very first image that pops up, you will see one of the technicians looking into and working on the device up in the top corner. Stick around for that if you can. So, what they could not account for when they were doing all of this was something that they had never seen, because the designer had hidden this little hidden detonator where no X-ray could really reveal its true purpose. Sometimes the greatest danger is not the part you overlook, it's the part you never had a chance to see to begin with. The shape charged fired exactly as planned. Then, in a fraction of a second, the hidden backup power source came alive, and instead of disabling the bomb, the attempt triggered it. The explosion tore through Harvey's resort. It had such an overwhelming force that it carved a crater several stories deep into the building and sent debris high into the Nevada sky and out across the parking lot. It destroyed an entire 3 stories of this hotel. The blast also shattered windows at a neighboring casino, Harris Casino, just across the street. And through the underground connection between the two properties, there was even more devastation. Yet amid all of that destruction came one astonishing fact that still seemed almost impossible. Every guest and every employee had already been evacuated. Not all of the cars were gone from the parking lot, obviously, but all of the people were out. No one was killed. Not one was even injured. Millions of dollars in damage had been done, but not a single life had been lost thanks to the preparation and the thoughtfulness and the planning of the FBI. For investigators, however, the mystery was only beginning. Someone had built this remarkable machine. They'd stolen roughly 1,000 pounds of dynamite from a construction site near Fresno, California. They had tested explosives by destroying a wooden bridge in California just weeks earlier, and somehow managed to move this massive bomb into one of the busiest casinos in the region without raising any kind of serious suspicion. The search quickly narrowed toward, of course, John Burgess Sr., whose white van had been seen near South Lake Tahoe. His background also attracted attention, too. So he possessed experience with explosives, and his staggering gambling losses proved to be kind of an obvious motive. Suspicion alone, however, does not solve a criminal case, as I'm sure many of you already know. Investigators still needed the pieces that connected possibility to proof. That piece arrived from a place that no detective could have predicted. One of Burgess's sons confided to his girlfriend that his father was responsible for planting this bomb. Eventually, the relationship ended, and while she was on a date with a different fellow, news reports mentioned a reward for information in this bombing. She repeated to this new guy what she'd been told, and then her new companion contacted the FBI. That simple conversation became one of the most important breaks in the entire investigation. Burgess was arrested. He was convicted in 1982 and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. His two sons admitted their own involvement and testified against him, while others connected to delivering the bomb also received prison sentences of their own. Burgess remained behind bars until his own death from liver cancer in 1996. The story didn't end with the conviction, though. Harvey's reopened portions of the casino within 48 freaking hours after this explosion. And after extensive repairs, they were able to welcome guests back to a fully restored hotel in 1981. This is even before the trial kicked off. Investigators estimated the damage at roughly $18 million. Yet the lessons proved even more valuable than the construction. The FBI created a full-scale replica of what the extortionists had simply called the machine. And for decades, it continued serving as a training tool because experts still considered it one of the most complex improvised explosive devices they had ever examined. And I also have an image of that in the credits today. Long after the dust settled, this bomb continued teaching new generations of investigators what ingenuity could accomplish when placed in the wrong hands. The strongest lessons often arrive after the loudest silence, and that is a serious echo. If you'd been leading the FBI that day, would you have risked trying to disarm the bomb inside the hotel, or would you have searched for another solution, no matter how long it took? Tell me what you would have done in the comments and why you would have done it that way, because this one should be really interesting. And of course, if you enjoy stories like this, please make sure that you follow the History Happens with Amanda Blackwood Facebook page. That's me. I do this every single day. I enjoy doing this. I have a passion for history. And if you get a chance to comment, share, like, all of that stuff on my post, you can fight back against the Facebook algorithms for shadow banning me. Anyway, thanks for watching.